Hey guys, it's Heather, Real Heather D. I am making a video to show you guys how to make fabric surgical masks. The reason we're doing this is we are here on day 6 of the Indiana stay home order. Basically, we've been quarantined in our homes to try to prevent the spread of COVID-19. And in the meantime, the healthcare workers are running out of their personal protective equipment. So my mom and I decided to start making masks for the healthcare workers, for people who need them, to, if they're sick, to protect them from getting other people sick, but mostly for healthcare workers because they are our frontline heroes who are going to literally get us through this. They need to be protected, and right now they don't have enough of their regular N95 respirator masks to keep them from getting sick and also to help keep them from making other people sick. So I'm going to show you guys how to make masks today, and you can donate them to your local hospital, but you'll want to check with them first to make sure they're accepting handmade masks. You can check their website, you can look online. If you live in Michigan, there are places that are taking them. I'm in northern Indiana, so I'm really close to Michigan, and I'm going to be delivering some of these to a hospital network, Bronson in South Michigan. So I'm also, if people need them, I'll give them to people who want them for protecting themselves. But there is one rule that's super important, and that is if you want to make masks to donate, you cannot be sick. If you have coronavirus or think you have coronavirus, if you have any symptoms, do not make them for other people. Make them for yourself and use them to keep from getting other people sick in your household if it's not too late already. But yeah, you cannot be sick with anything. No cold, no flu, no coronavirus. You just need to be pretty healthy. I've been taking my temperature regularly. I have normal seasonal allergies and sinus issues, but so I sniffle sometimes, but I'm not sick. I've been, like I said, taking my temperature, making sure. So has my husband, and we haven't been around anyone, haven't been going anywhere. So make sure you're healthy. And if you need masks for yourself, please let me know. I will send you some. If you can send me a label, I will ship them to you. If you want to make them and you cannot get materials because everything's shut down where you are, I can mail you fabric and elastic, pre-cut and everything ready to go. You just have to send me a USPS label, a flat rate label, and I'll throw them into an envelope and send them your way. If you have questions about that, just leave a comment below, and I will work with you on that. So let's get started. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and get started here. I've got my fabric, it's 6x9, and then I have my elastic, which are each 7 inches long. You can have the fabric on a fold, that works as well. Just for this demonstration, I'm doing 2 separate pieces. So I'm going to show you how to use the little pattern here to make your marks for your pleats. However, I don't really use it anymore because I've just gotten used to I've done so many. I've done like 50, so I don't need to use it, but you may need to begin with, because this basically makes 4 pleats, and 2 in each direction, 2 facing the bottom, 2 facing the top. So it can be worn either way. There's also one you can do that has 3 pleats in the same direction, but I like this one. So take your marker and mark the fabric on the outside, so the side that's going to be showing, because we're obviously going to sew this inside out just like you would a pillow or a hair scrunchie or whatever. Anytime you're making something where you need it all finished, you turn it inside out. So we're going to mark right side out though. So we want to, this is disappearing ink, but you can use a chalk marker, the ones that are made for fabric, any kind of fabric pen. And I'm sorry, my camera is attached to this little TV tray I'm using as my sewing table. I am normally making things from resin and paint in my art studio, so I didn't feel like sitting up there. I'm already isolated as it is with my husband, and I don't need to isolate myself further by being in the studio all alone. It's fine when he's at work because I'm alone anyway, but anyway, we've been binging on lost episodes while I make masks, and he's been helping with trimming threads because he's a good husband. So anyway, I marked those lines because these are where we're going to fold later for our pleats, and then putting my fabric right side in. And depending on how experienced you are, you can do this without pins. If you haven't sewn in a while and need to get back in the swing of things, by all means use pins. I just find that I break less thread and don't have to worry about breaking my needle if I do no pins, or least number of pins possible, basically. All right, so we are going to start close to the middle here. You want to try to do a 1/4 inch stitch. I end up just kind of lining it up with this edge of the foot here on the inner edge. See, my 1/4 inch mark is right here. I just do this because it seems to be easier, and also when I finish after I flip it inside, or I should say right side out, when I do my finishing stitches, I do the top and bottom first with a zigzag stitch to secure everything, but you don't have to. Anyway, and that helps me by using this foot because this is where all the zigzag goes. And so I kind of put it to that edge to make sure the zigzag doesn't go over. Anywho, let's go ahead and do our first stitch, and I will, well, it's gonna shake, so I'm not gonna talk, obviously. All right, so you want to go ahead and stop at about that mark, the 1/4 inch mark. I'm gonna go, actually I'm just gonna do one stitch back just to give myself to go to the edge of my foot. All right, so we're gonna take our first piece of elastic. We're gonna take the fabric, open it up, lay this nice and flat along that seam. Bring the fabric back over. You just want to make sure it stays there up against that seam and is nice and straight. This will help you later. And we're going to straighten our fabric back out. Again, with pins, you have to take them out. So if you can keep your fabric straight, don't use pins. All right, so we're going to go ahead and do a few stitches back and forth over the elastic. I keep wanting to call it Velcro. Over the elastic to make sure it's really stitched in there good. So let's go ahead and do that. And then go ahead and stitch back down to this end. I'm gonna stop about right there. So now what I need to do is go ahead and get that elastic, make sure it stays nice and flat. We're going to bring it around and set it about a 1/4 inch from the, well, I'm not going to do this frayed part, obviously you can't stitch on a fray, but so 1/4 inch or so, put that down there, put the fabric on, and then you just want to hold it and make sure it does not turn. That's very easy to do because your other end is already attached. So we're going to go ahead and continue stitching very carefully. And I just leave my finger there till it grabs the elastic and I know it's got it. I'm going to do a couple stitches back and forth again. So okay, and I'm going to go back to this edge, right past the elastic, and then foot up and turn. I'm just gonna sew on this line here because see, I've got frayed fabric there. No biggie, and you wanna make sure your elastic doesn't get in the way there, which it shouldn't if you put it in right. And then just kind of get it out of the way of the foot there so it doesn't get stuck. Go ahead and sew this edge all the way. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and repeat with the elastic. And what's handy about this is I've got room because you start in the middle. I do use folded fabric sometimes just because it's easier to cut, and so when it's folded it's a little bit harder, but well, I should say harder in some ways and easier in others, so it just depends on your preference. So we're going to lay that nice and flat in there up against that seam, keep it straight, bring the fabric back down, make sure it's good and smooth, and do our stitches back and forth. Doing the same thing as we did on the other side. And keep that straight. That's better. All right, make sure it's lined up. Okay. So we have our sewn rectangle. All right, so let me move my machine. We've sewn everything, and now we just need to turn it right side out. Sorry. Okay. So what I do is pull the elastic a little bit, and obviously you can go into the inside of it and kind of make sure you have everything nice and straight, I guess you could say. And it helps to like use the elastic as well to make sure your corners are right. Like, that's not perfect, but it's okay. Ooh, that's okay. We'll stitch it in there a little more. And then just want to make sure everything is good and lined up. Okay, and then we're gonna close up the hole here. Now, I personally sew my top and bottom stitches first before I do the pleats. So what I do is I will use pins here because, well, it's just hard to hold the two sides of the folded edge here and keep it from popping out. And you can't do just a 1/4 inch seam on it either, because otherwise it's a 1/4 inch. So you won't even catch the fabric. You'd have to do more of like 1/8 of an inch. That's why I just started doing zigzag. And then it looks nice and it will hold up better. Hopefully, they don't need to use these for very long because we can get caught up on the regular disposable PPE. So we're gonna go ahead and stitch this. All right, got it set on zigzag stitch, and I'm going to move there. So I'm making sure that that fabric's lined up with the inner edge of that foot, just because that's where the zigzag goes. And let's go. I find it easier to do the top and bottom edges just because it keeps everything nice and straight. So when you're trying to do those pleats, you don't have your fabric like all moving around and trying to do these straight lines. When the pleats are in, it can be kind of difficult. So I don't usually pin the other side just because there's no opening to shut, but I just make sure that it's nice and straight. And then go ahead and, again, depends on your experience level. I've been sewing since I was a teenager, since I was a kid. Learned how to sew on my mom's old Kenmore. And my husband and my daughter got me this sewing machine maybe like for 8 birthdays ago. And I hadn't really used it till now, and I love it. So do this zigzag. Sometimes it gets stuck like this where it doesn't want to move. So what I do is just pull the needle out a bit, kind of wiggle it just so that these little teeth down here can move it. But sometimes it just kind of gets stuck because I started on the elastic, but that's fine because it helps keep the elastic in better. So just kind of, there it goes. See how it's about that. Delete that part. Here we have our mask with the edges stitched. See how nice and flat it lays. So now we've got our marks to do our folds. So the dotted lines are usually valley folds, so I'm going to fold it in and then take this, fold it that way, and attach it there. See? And then this is where I definitely use pins because you cannot hold this in place unless you're like super coordinated and have 5 hands. But unless you have 5 hands, it's not happening. So we're gonna fold that up on that, and then I don't use these marks anymore just because I'm used to I've made like 50 of these, so I can just do it by looking, but I'm doing this for you guys so you can see. And then once you get used to making them, you can do the same thing, just you'll get used to where they fold. And then do the other side. Try to see if you pull it and make sure they're even. Fold that up, fold that down. See, I don't like that. I didn't. Just off a smidge, but that's okay. Like I said, I'm used to doing the folds myself, not marking them, but it's okay. I did it like the first 3 times. Okay, and then we do our last 2 folds. So basically these 2 dotted lines go together, and then like that. Same thing over here. So you basically want these pleats to look like that. Okay, see? And then we'll go ahead and do these. See, and what I also do is just make sure it's like lined up this way. See? And then we're gonna do our final stitches and we'll be done. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and like you can line it up with your 1/4 inch mark, you can do it with your foot like I do, however works for you. Sorry for the shaking again. So we're just doing a regular stitch now. I mean, you can do zigzag. I have done it on 1 because I forgot to change the setting on my machine, but either way it works. So I try to get as close to the edge as possible because you make sure you get that elastic in there and just it's extra secure. So I'm gonna go ahead and do our back stitch and then go crazy. If you notice your pleats getting hung up on your foot, I just lift the foot up and like tuck it down and put the foot back down. It didn't do it to me this time, but maybe it'll do it on the other side. We'll see. I mean, it's completely up to you. If you just want to do sew one time and do the whole outer edge at once with your pleats, you can. I've just found that trying to keep that opening pin shut, and you have pins going this way, you know, this direction, and then trying to do these folds and not poke yourself and make sure that that fabric doesn't move, it's really hard. So again, this just is what works for me. You can adapt it as you see fit. And let's do our last stitch. And uh-oh, getting stuck a little bit. There we go. Getting a little bit jammed up there. This is why I don't like using pins on the other sides either, because with the elastic, it just, my machine does not want to move. Okay. Okay, so now we have our stitched up mask. Just gotta take these pins out. Safety first, and then take these out. And trim our extra thread off. usually make my husband do this, put him to use, since he doesn't have to work right now. We've been binging on Lost. We've done that before, we've seen it before, but that's what we're on right now. I don't know what else we're gonna watch. Well, we watch movies too, but. So there we have our mask when it's flat. And then, see, it opens up nice to cover the face and hopefully save some lives or just keep some people from getting sick. All right, well, thank you for watching my video. I normally do make regular art with, well, I should say, not just say regular, mixed media art. I'm a resin artist, a painter. I'm a fluid artist. I like to do pours and things like that and cast resin. So I'm hoping to get some of those videos up, but this one's more important, so it's gonna go up now. Stay safe, everybody. Bye.